Hey everybody, welcome to the Fired Up with CJ show. We're in part 3 of our conversation with Charles Garfield on his book, Our Wisdom Years, Growing Older with Joy, Fulfillment, Resilience, and No Regrets. So welcome back, Charles.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
So the segments we talked about were the importance of close relationships, service impact, and we talked a little bit about creative endeavors. And you'd said that creativity is really important during these years, as well as putting your best self out there. So during the break, you said you had a couple more stories to share about creative choices that people have made. Can you share those stories with us?
Absolutely. One of the things I'll say as a prelude to that is be very wary of that little voice in your head that says, I'm not a creative person. I've never been a creative person. We're all creative. We can all be creative in various ways. Ask yourself the question, who is my heart calling me to be? And what is
Mm,
my heart calling me to do?
mm,
Who is my heart calling me to be? What is my heart calling me to do? And really allow yourself to come across solid answers, real answers, answers that strike you as authentic. Now, you asked about examples. I have a very close friend, very successful woman. She's now in her early 70s. She's made all the money anybody'd ever want. She's been successful in all the ways that people want to be successful earlier in life. We had coffee not too long ago. It's probably a year now. And she said, I don't know what to do with the rest of my life. I've been successful. I have all the resources anybody needs. I said, what is your heart calling you to do? And she sat still, and you could see a little tear in her eye. And she said, you know what I always wanted to be? Be very aware of your mind and your heart telling you that quest, sharing that question with you. You know what I always wanted to do? And I said, what? When I hear that, I'm all ears. She said, I always wanted to be an artist. I always wanted to paint. I always go to museums whenever I travel, and I go and I look at the artwork of the great artists, and I know I'm not likely to be a great artist. I said, you don't know that yet. We don't know that yet. Don't don't turn off the possibilities. And she said, okay, maybe I do have some talent. I'd like to just give it a try. I said, what's the first step? She said, I'd like to take an art class. I said, that's a great step. That's terrific. She took a few steps in that direction, took a few classes, went to an art retreat where she spent a week doing nothing but painting and getting her painting critiqued by the instructor. Now she paints regularly. She gives her paintings away. She's
mm.
now she called me the other day and she said somebody who came to my house to a party saw one of my paintings and said that they had to have it and they would pay me for it. I said, "What'd you do?" She said, "I made up a price," and they said, "Okay, that's fine." She said, "I sold my first painting."
That's
She said,
exciting.
"I guess I'm an artist now." I said, "You were an artist before you sold the painting."
Yeah, that's
Before that.
lovely.
And she's so fulfilled now. I said, how do you compare? This is an important one. How do you compare the feeling of contentment that you had during your career when you were successful with the feeling of contentment you have now in
Mm,
your later years as an artist? She said, "Oh, it's not even comparable. I feel much more content. I'm much happier now than I ever was earlier.
hmm.
Earlier, it was all about pressure. It was always about pressure to perform, to be the best, to get ahead, to climb the ladder, to be successful. It was never about me. It was never about what I truly wanted, what nurtured me the most. Now that I'm an artist, that's exactly what I want to do. That's exactly who I want to be. I've never allowed myself the opportunity to do that before." She
Mm.
said, "I'm much happier now than I've ever been in my life." That statement I heard more often than I ever would have imagined from older people.
Mm. It's that sense of fulfillment to do what they wanted to do versus what they felt they should do to be productive and a good member of society? Is that's what I get from your friend's story. But what did you hear across the board?
Well, I heard that comparison. I heard comparing their career and how they felt with being older and how they felt. And there was a tremendous difference. It was almost as if feeling good about what you did didn't even come into the equation earlier in life.
Mm,
People didn't even think about being content or happy or joyful or fulfilled. They thought about getting ahead, as I keep saying,
mm-hmm,
about advancement, about
mm,
achievement.
mm-hmm,
Now, in later life, they realized they had plenty of energy. It's not that their energy was dissipating, as we sometimes think with older people. They had plenty of energy. It's just that they had discovered how to invest it, and they invested that energy in doing what really fulfilled them most.
mm. And how do you see that being related to creating your best self? 'Cause that was something that you said was one of your key learnings from doing this. What does that mean, creating your best self? I mean, I know the kind of like creating your best self, put yourself out there, but from from your from your deep investigation and exploration, how would you define what that meant and how is it connected to the story that we just shared?
Well, the question I often ask is, what are you constitutionally suited for?
Hmm.
I say it in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah,
Uh,
sorry, let me turn on the light. Somehow my lights went off. Sorry. What are you constitutionally suited for?
right. What do you really want to be doing? What is your heart telling you is the best investment of your energies now? That's your best self. Your best self is the self that loves best, that offers that kind of affection and connection with people in your life, especially close people, and the service work, as we talked about earlier. Your best self is how much love and to whom, and and secondarily, the service that you offer in the world, work that made a difference in the lives of other people. That's your best self. Love and work are the central values.
I love that. Okay. And we've talked about joy, fulfillment, no regrets. Um, and we haven't necessarily spent a lot of time on resilience. And so, any other insights as we come to the coasting into our third segment on final segment on joy, fulfillment, or resilience that you want people to know?
Well, we talked a lot about fulfillment, you
Hmm.
know, being your best self,
Yes.
about being maximally fulfilled. And
Right.
we didn't explicitly talk about joy, but the joy that comes, like the story I just told about my friend, the painter, or my father, the actor, or my mother, who taught English as a second language. I asked them, how do you feel doing what you're doing now? I loved it. It's
Mhm.
exactly what I want to be doing. And their face would light up and they'd be excited. I would say, tell me what you love most. And they would say, making an impact in the lives of other people, bringing I get joy. I get a kind of joyful resonance with the joy of other people.
Mm,
So joy becomes a central value. And resilience is interesting. People say, I'm not as strong as I was when I was younger. Things aren't the same in that way, but I'm more psychologically resilient. I can
mm,
go with the flow a lot more easily. I can
mm,
deal with life's ups and downs more easily. I've been through a lot. That's the
mm,
phrase I kept hearing. I've been through so much and I've learned so much from what I've been through, the hard times and the good times. That
mm,
resilience is really not that you don't get knocked down, it's how fast you get up and what you learn from it. That's
yeah.
that's what the heart of resilience really is.
I two different things. One is I was reading this book by I can't remember the author, I'm sorry, but he wrote a book on ecstatic joy, and he defined joy as like when life energy is expressing, when you are actually the if you believe in the Eastern methodology, belief system, which it's prana, chi, and there's this life force that is running through us. And if you believe that each of us has like some expressed expression of that life force that is resident within us and wants to express. If you haven't done it in your earlier years, I can see that when you become a painter or a writer or an actor like your father, that it's that life force is finally able to give expression. And it seems like, in a lot of ways, I would imagine that that would be life giving. Like it would be like life giving. I don't know, like, if everything if all your external aspects are aging, there's an internal core of you that would be more radiant than before. That's my guess. Am I right? Please tell me I'm right.
I think you are right. I think what's interesting, the Eastern traditions have a lot to offer us, which
Hmm.
to understanding concepts like life force. And they have different ways of expressing it, different terms in different cultures. But the term life force is really a useful one in the West. We sort of understand what that means. Now you're saying it beautifully. How do you give full expression to that life force? It's what I said earlier when I said, what are you constitutionally suited for? What is in your deepest self? What is the best expression of who you are in this world? And I used to listen to, I still listen to older people talk to me, people my age and older, talk to me about how they give expression to the most elemental, basic parts of themselves. And they say, they say the two things that matter most: love and work, service and work that made a difference in the lives of other people, and love, people I care about most.
Mm, beautiful. I love that idea of I love that idea of love and work, and it's expressing both of those simultaneously, in one expression. Because before we may have loved our families, and we worked on like family stuff, and then there's work, which is like there's not a lot of love in it, but I'll just do it for to be productive and famous or whatever. Now it's like, what if in fact these two things were joined and one? I think that's a new aha for me. And I'm sure there are very many more in your book. Our wisdom years, growing older with joy, fulfillment, and resilience. Thank you so much for being on the show.
My
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. Would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.
pleasure. Thank you.